All right, guys, this is my 2004 Toyota Corolla 1.8 liter automatic transmission. I just got it running. I'm going to tell y'all how I got it running, but let's talk about the situation. We had a no crank, no start situation. It would not crank over. Every time I turned the key, it acted like it had a dead battery. So at the ballpark field, changed the battery out because it literally acted like it had a dead battery. And the battery, I'll show y'all. This value power battery that came out had seen better days. Afterwards, every time you turn the key, electronics inside would turn off. And I was pretty sure that was part of the car, but I couldn't remember for sure. Whenever you crank it, all the lights kind of go out in the interior, which is just something about this car. So I was like, you know what? I'll go ahead and replace the terminals too, just in case. I wanted to make sure. That didn't solve the issue. I was like, all right, well, you know what? We probably have a bad starter. I went ahead and checked that I had signal voltage and everything. I was like, all right, well, I got signal voltage. I got voltage going to the starter, good ground, continuity. Let's go ahead. We'll take the starter off. I went up to O'Reilly's. O'Reilly's hooked up. They're like, hey, man, your starter's good. I'm like, okay. They're like, everything checked out. It shot out like it should, spun over. All right, cool, whatever. Sounded fine. Put it back on. Beat my head a little bit more trying to figure out what the heck was going on. I was like, you know what? All the audio wires that were here from previous build in this thing, I took off. I went ahead and even hooked up the alternator with the factory alternator wire. I cut back all the wires here. I made new ends. I went in the panel. I checked every fuse. I came over here. Let me get a light. I came to the car. Uh-oh, my light's dead. I came in here and I checked the fuse box down here. I checked the starter relay. I even installed a new starter relay. And that was $40 for that starter relay. And guess what? It still wouldn't start. I turned the key over. It wouldn't do anything. I mean, you didn't hear a click. You didn't hear a grind. So it made perfect sense that the starter might have been good and it just wasn't getting voltage. I was only showing 12.1 in the car. The old battery was showing 12.5, and my head was stumped. I worked on this thing for 3 days, just beating my head, trying to figure out. I watched every YouTube video possible. People were talking about, you know, if it's not the relay or any of the fuses or the battery or the terminals or the starter, to check to see if you have computer communication. So I hooked up. Well, the first thing they check for is if you have a check engine light when you turn the key over, not to turn it on. You should have a check engine light, pop up on the dash when you have it in accessory mode. I had that. I hooked it up to a computer. No codes, read fine. Well, guess what? I got tired of it. I was like, you know what? It's got to be the starter. It's got to be something. I hit it, nothing. I hit it a couple more times, nothing. I got in there and I just beat it as good as I could. And I was like, you know what? It ain't going to work. I went in the house. I didn't even try it. I walked back outside. I didn't try it. Let me just try it for shits and giggles. And it fired up. So if you are told that your starter is good, but you can't figure out why your car ain't starting, change the damn starter. If you've checked everything, change the starter. And one telltale sign I knew it wasn't draining down the voltage or anything. When I go to crank it over, the lights wouldn't even change. I was like, okay, if I got a dead battery, my lights should be dimming something. But they weren't. So just be aware, guys, that if O'Reilly's tells you your starter is good, it definitely might still be bad. And, I checked the neutral safety switch down here under the battery. There's a neutral safety switch. Got to make sure it's in park or neutral or it won't. And mine was fine. So, hey, learn something new every day, right?